Alright, so here is our opening pack for the cube. I haven't done a ton of cube drafts, so I'm not going to say I'm going to make every single pick correct, but there's so many different directions you can go, especially starting out the draft. This pack doesn't strike me as being particularly strong. Deceiver Exarch is a nice combo card. Batterskull is just a good card. Powerful spell. I think the Scalding Tarn, though, is the most flexible. Well, the Batterskull is pretty flexible, too. But I like taking a fetch land early. Grave Titan's powerful. Craterhoof Behemoth. But normally the lands, like the fetch lands and dual lands, can go pretty early because you want to be able to have access to a lot of different colors if you want them. So this is an interesting pack. Okay, Smuggler's Copter. That's obviously a new addition here to the cube. We do have a half a blue fetch land, so these blue cards like the Torrential Gearhulk, the Cryptic Command, those are pretty attractive. So is the Dragonlord Slumgar. These fetch lands, the Wasteland, they aren't quite as good as the Scalding Tarn in terms of early picks in this format. So I think it comes down to the Gearhulk and the Cryptic Command. I'm gonna go with the Cryptic Command. It's just a powerful spell, and if we end up in a heavy blue deck, we're gonna play it. So we see a Jace Belair in here. Picture's not great on that. Splinter Twin. We saw a Deceiver Exarch in our first pack. Now the chances that it wheels, not great, but also we could speculate on the Splinter Twin. We would lose if we don't end up getting the Exarch. Then the Splinter Twin may just not be very good. Whereas a card like Jace Beleren or a lot of these other cards are just reasonable cards, but I like the idea of taking the twin, seeing if that Deceiver Exarch does wheel, and going from there. So here we've got a Chandra Pyremaster, a Johnny Vengeance, two solid Planeswalkers, Elish Norn. That's a big card. You can reanimate it sometimes. Deathrite is good with our fetch land. Think I like the Chandra Pyromancer here. So yep, gonna grab the Pyromancer there. And kind of looking to be blue-red. Now this is interesting. Okay, so there's a fetch land. We see a Bazaar of Baghdad, so that's one of those vintage cards. This is the vintage cube after all. Abbot of Carol Keep, solid playable card. Arid Mesa. Then we get Lion's Eye Diamond, kind of a combo card, and Mox Diamond. I think Mox Diamond is pretty powerful just because it allows us to ramp up to these 4-mana cards potentially. So I think I like that over taking the fetch land in that spot. And wow, here's a Pestermite. So we've already got Splinter Twin, and it feels like we kind of have to take the Pestermite now. We took the line of taking the Splinter Twin. Now that we're here, we're very happy to see the Pestermite. So not really too much of a decision. Gonna take it, and we're still crossing our fingers, really crossing our fingers that Exarch wheels. Because if so, we'll be in a really great spot. So here, we're kind of looking to be blue-red right now. We've got all blue and red cards plus a blue-red fetch land. So I could see taking Plateau, just because it would enable a splash, duplicate, solid card. So same with Sword of Fire and Ice, but I think we're likely to pick up some cheap instants and sorceries. So I like the Goblin Dark Dwellers here. So went ahead and took the Dark Dwellers. So in this spot, the Needle Spires, again, it could help enable a splash, plus it's a man land that we can use however we would like. Thundermaw Hellkite is also a good card, but not amazing. 5-mana 5/5 Flying Haste turns out to be just okay in the cube, so I'm gonna grab the land. And alright, this may have been the Deceiver Exarch pack, so that might mean that the Exarch did not wheel. Could be the next one, but I think it was this one, so that's obviously not what we wanted to see. But we can make do. So we could end up going into another color. So Shadow Mage Infiltrator, good card, and just gonna take the Hero Blade Hold though, and gotta make my choices a little bit faster here. Okay, so grab the Hero Blade Holds, and now Smuggler's Copter. Think I'm just gonna take the Temple of Malice, potential splash option. Puppeteer Click seems pretty good. Could be a good card to put Splinter Twin on. Not great, but could allow for some fun interactions. So, and now, yeah, Storm, it just doesn't end up panning out normally in cube. So we're not really gonna be a Storm deck. We're not set up for that. Here, I actually kind of like the Painful Truce, but I think it's between Painful Truce and Abbott, clearly. Gonna take the Painful Truce and Revelar, sure. So we ended up with a couple of white cards there at the end. The Hero Blade holds, Revelar. So we're kind of all over the place. The end of the pack wasn't great for us. We picked up some lands so that we can potentially splash depending on how this goes here. And alright, so opening pack, there's a Chandra, Torch of Defiance. So that's a pretty powerful card. Demonic Tutor. We're not really a combo deck. Once again, we're looking to be more of a mid-range deck here. So not gonna take the Demonic Tutor. Wall of Omens, Riftwind Cloudskate. These are the types of cards that could be good on a Splinter Twin. So that is something to consider. And we're still kind of set up to be blue-red base, so the Riftwind Cloudskate could be a solid pickup. You can suspend it on turn 2, which is nice because we've already got these 4 drops here. So I think I'm gonna take the Riftwind Cloudskate here. Let's see, there's a Doretti Scrap Savant. Ral Zarek is in the 2 colors that were potentially in. Shriekmaw. There's a Signets are good in the cube. Boros Signet is definitely something to consider. Ral Zarek, even though it is both of our colors, it's just not that high of a power level planeswalker. So I don't really think it's the pick here. We do have some white cards. Unclear how much white we actually want to play. So that's one reason why we might not take the Signet. There's also a Celestial Colonnade. So plenty of options here. Alright, let's go with the Boros Signet. We really want some mana acceleration. We may end up playing white cards. Unclear at this point. We're not going to be playing something like a Garruk Primal Hunter, even though it's a very powerful card. Mana Leak is an option, just as an early play. It doesn't work with our Goblin Dark Dwellers, which is a little bit unfortunate. Unexpectedly Absent, if we end up being able to play double white, that would be a solid pickup. But I think Mana Leak, we're kind of still trying to. We've got some solid blue cards here. I kind of want to stick with the Splinter Twin blue control deck plan. So gonna take the Mana Leak. And here, Maze of Ith is a powerful control card. It's not a real land, that's the only thing, so can be good. It's just hard to figure out how to put it in your deck and what type of deck to put it in. Entomb, we're not really playing that sort of game. We don't have any huge creatures. We've got some decent sized ones. But the Dig Through Time strikes me as a very powerful card still in the pack, and we can sort of solidify ourselves in this blue-red base. We've got some white cards hanging out, a couple black cards hanging out still. But I'm going to take the dig here. And kind of solidify us, or try to solidify us in this blue-red base. But now we've got this pack that isn't really what we want. There's a Preordain, which is a fine card if we end up straight blue-red. So I'm gonna put these white cards off to the side here. Some of these black cards, they may come back in depending on what we end up doing. But I think we want to just grab the Preordain. It works with our Goblin Dark Dwellers. It's another card in the graveyard for the Dig Through Time. And it's a powerful 1-mana draw effect. So even though Lily, Lingering Souls, Emrakul, these are all good cards, we're going to just pass here, essentially. So kind of looking to be this blue-red mid-range. Got some spells in our deck. Do we have enough spells for a card like Delver of Secrets? Now that becomes a reasonable question. So counting our instants and sorceries, we've got 1, 2, possibly 3, 4, 5 so far. It's an option. Tropical Island, it's good, but splashing green, we don't really have any green cards yet, so I think I'm inclined to take this Delver of Secrets and see if we can put together some instants and sorceries that we want to play. So Blightsteel Colossus, that's actually one of the more powerful cards in the cube because of how many different ways you can cheat it into play. However, this isn't really the sort of deck for it. This isn't the pack we wanted to see. Through the Breach, we don't really have much right now to Through the Breach. We could take the Through the Breach, or the Blightsteel Colossus, but that may not come together. Sensei's Divining Top, we don't have that much shuffle effects. I'm going to take the Blightsteel, but not really happy about it. So here there's a Searing Blaze. Solid removal spell. If we end up straight blue-red, maybe the red-red is something that we can do. Eidolon of the Great Revel. Olivia Valderin, it's fine if we end up splashing black, but I think we just want to take the Searing Blaze. Also the Diabolic Edict, but I think the Blaze is fine here. So here it's pretty much between the Siege Gang, the Compulsive Research, and the Dreadbore. Siege Gang also there's that come into play effect off the Siege Gang that is attractive, but the Research and the Dreadbore work a little bit better in our deck, I think, just because we really want something for the Dark Dwellers, for the Delver. So I'm going to take the Compulsive Research here. And, alright, Ral Zarek is still in the pack. There's also a Sun Titan. But Ral Zarek, yeah, it might not end up in our deck just because the card is a little bit underwhelming. Duretti, haven't really played with it too much, to be honest, but we don't really have too many artifacts, so alright, adding the Ral Zarek to the pile here. And yeah, this pack is kind of a bust. We can take a Savannah. And yeah, so we're looking to be straight blue-red at this point. And because we didn't pick up that much mana fixing, we're a little bit constrained to being straight blue-red at this point. But we could still splash something. Alright, so here we go. Library of Alexandria is an extremely powerful card. Can allow you to draw a lot of cards, get ahead in the game. So leaning towards taking that, I think. Wormcoil Engine, Wildfire, Signets, they're also all Phantasmal Image. Those are all cards that I would also consider for the deck, but I think the library is just too good to pass up, so I'm going to grab that. Alright, so here we've got some options for our deck. This is a pack we like. There's Electrolyze, Jace Architect of Thought, and Ancestral Vision is also would be a nice pickup here for us. So I think it's between those options here. And I think we probably want to take the Ancestral Vision. It worked really well with our Goblin Dark Dweller. So, yep, gonna take the Ancestral Vision here. Got a lot of stuff we can do with one blue mana at this point. Ancestral, Preordain, and Delver of Secrets. So, okay. Here our mana's a little bit tight, even for a 2-color deck. So the Steam Vents definitely there's an argument for it. Isochron Scepter also could be good with something like Searing Blaze or Mana Leak. But yeah, I think the Steam Vents is the pick here. We just want to have good mana. Gonna put these off-color green-white, some of these off-color temples away. We're pretty likely to be straight blue-red, so gonna take the temple. And so Brainstorm is definitely a powerful card in Vintage and Legacy. We only have one shuffle effect though, which makes it pretty medium. Monastery Mentor could be good in this type of deck. Sower of Temptation. Even a card like Rift Bolt or Chandra Flamecaller there's definitely arguments to those cards. I think this is a tough pick here. Huh. I do like Sower of Temptation. It's just a little bit vulnerable to opposing removal, but gonna take it here. Think some cube experts might argue with me on that one, but like the card every time I've cast it in this format. And if it doesn't die right away, you're in a great spot. And then there's also a bunch of Eldrazi's and stuff like that. Here there's a volcanic island, so now we're kind of solidifying our mana base if we want to take that, which I think we do. Dismember would be another card we could consider. We're seeing a lot of the big fatties go around the table, and we're kind of just people are going to probably cast them against us, but we're pretty happy just to solidify our mana base. Here there's even a Wandering Fumarole, and so probably just going to take that here over the Burst Lightning. So, yep, mana's in a good spot. So we actually, Tinker was one of the cards I was thinking about earlier when picking up the Blightsteel Colossus. The issue is that we only have one artifact we can actually sacrifice to it, the Boros Signet. So from that perspective, it's not that great. If we end up splashing black, we would want the Terminate. But I think Dual Caster Mage is perfectly reasonable. So gonna grab that one. Okay, so here's a Restoration Angel, and a Nahiri, but I think the pick has to be Restoration Angel here. Considering the theme of our deck with the Splinter Twin, the Pestermite, the Riftwind Cloudskate, I think we want the Restoration Angel and potentially splash white. So, I think the Crater's Claws, it's not the most powerful card. We could also take a Wildfire here. Gifts Ungiven, no, we don't really want that. So I'm going to grab the Crater's Claws. And this Electrolyzed Wield, that's good. So did the Jace. So two of the cards we were really considering earlier in this pack now came back around. And even Fiery Confluence could be solid. But I'm going to take the Electrolyze for sure. So here, Tezzeret, we don't have enough artifacts for. Palinchron, just not really that powerful of a card. The Colligan's Command, we could play, but if we ended up splashing black, we probably won't. Chandra Flamecaller, sure. Nicole, we're not going to play any of these cards, sure. So the deck ended up pretty solid, and now we have to build it. So we've got a lot of, we're going to be straight blue-red for sure. Alright, so now we have to make some serious decisions with deck building. We're not going to play the Blightsteel Colossus. I'm going to move the lands out of the way here. While I'm drafting, a lot of the times I do like to sort and see what the deck is going to look like, but sometimes there's just so many decisions during a draft that you don't have time to think about, okay, this is exactly what my deck is going to look like, or even that whether or not there's going to be a splash involved. So this was one of those circumstances where there's so many different cards to consider in the cube that I like figuring out my deck out completely after the draft is done. So, and then we'll figure out what our options are. So, probably We have the option of splashing white or black. I don't think we want to splash both. And we might not want to splash either, but we've got a Boros Signet, which helps enable, and a Mox Diamond, which helps enable a splash plus some lands. We could actually splash both colors if we wanted to. So looking at these cards, there's not that many creatures in the deck, but I think that's gonna be okay. So the Kargan Dragon Lord, it's not a super powerful card, but if we do end up straight blue red and play there's a couple of ways we could go. If we play the Revelark, it's pretty good with Revelark if this card dies. It's not the easiest to level up. It's not the most powerful card, but we might find ourselves needing to play it. So I think we were to want to play the Delver, which means emphasizing our instants and sorceries to a certain extent. This card, the Burning card, it's basically like a Wildfire. Essentially the same card. I don't think this deck really wants a Wildfire that much. There could be spots where we want to board it in, but as a main deck option, doesn't seem worth it. So we're down to 26 cards now. And Revelark, it's able to get back Dualcaster Mage, Pestermite, Riftwing Cloudscape, Delver, Sower. So there's some cards it can get back for us. The Colligan's Command is a good flexible card. Terminate is another powerful option. So at this point, it's hard to say exactly what we want to cut without looking at the mana base. And we also have to think about the Splinter Twin, which we speculated on early on. And we could play, if we could, basically the Splinter Twin and the Pestermite, they go together. We didn't get the Deceiver back, and so the Twin, it's not as good as we would like it to be. It's fine on the Pestermite, on a Riftwing Cloudscape, and on Goblin Dark Dwellers. So I'm going to lay out some lands, and we don't want to be playing, if we do end up splashing if we do end up splashing black, white, or both, we don't want to be playing too many actual sources of those colors. So, Painful Truce, I don't think we need it. Terminate, also I don't think we need, because even though those cards are both good, we don't want to be stretching our mana base. We could splash the Colligan's Command, because out of those three cards, I believe it's the most powerful. Being able to return one of our powerful threats, and it's just a very versatile card. So by playing the Temple of Malice, and we also have the Mox Diamond, we could potentially splash Colligan's Command. But if we don't play it, then this would be 23 cards plus lands. So we would be this could be a deck here. Without the black cards, this is one configuration that we could go with the Restoration Angel, with the Revelark as a white splash. And I think this is a reasonable direction to go. We still have Splinter Twin plus Pestermite, which we can... The cards aren't great on their own. If you have them together, obviously they're just absurd and you win the game. So I think the upside is high enough to put both in our deck. There's 2 different Chandras in the list right now. And Ralzeric, it's I could see cutting it even though we're straight blue-red, but we are at 23 cards. Plus Mox Diamond and Boros Signet, so I think we're almost there. I could see cutting some cards. So looking at the Delver of Secrets count, how many instants and sorceries do we have? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So not the most, but I think enough to play it. And all right, so if we add basic lands, let's see. I don't necessarily listen to Moto, so I think we want a lot of islands for sure. Just to be able to play Preordain, play Ancestral Vision, play Delver on turn 1. So we've got 6, 7, 8, 9 turn 1 blue sources. Then we've got 4, 5. We've got actually a lot of red sources as well. So we might even be able to cut one red. There's one plains right now. And there's also a Mox Diamond. So I mean, the mana is good. The mana is good because we're not playing the black. So we've got good mana here. And this is the list. This is the deck that I think I'm leaning towards submitting. We got some cards that aren't tremendously powerful. I could see playing the Kargan Dragonlord as another beater because we only have 8 creatures, but the Crater's Claws, it's fine. How often are we going to hit Ferocious on it? There's not that many 4-power creatures. I guess there's 2. So we could potentially burn our opponents out with it. So I think this is what I'm going to submit. Yep, let's go ahead and run this and see how it goes.